I'm Ross Gianfortune. I'm executive editor here at GovExec. Joining me today is senior correspondent Charles S. Clark. And we're a month into President Donald Trump's tenure at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So today we're going to discuss the progress that Trump has made in transitioning to that office. So where is Trump as far as staffing, transition, management, as compared to his predecessors, Obama, Bush, Clinton, that sort of thing?
Well, like he does in many endeavors, Trump does things his own way, and he has stressed the high visibility cabinet appointments, which is about 21, which he has named 100% of, although one had to withdraw, so he named a successor in fairly short order. So he seems to be ahead of his predecessors in cabinet level, but when you get to the second and third levels, which are the people who really run the agencies, the deputy and the undersecretaries, he's quite a bit behind.
So what kind of hurdles has he seen there? Where is he behind? I know there was a lot about Assistant Secretary of State, and there was some rigmarole about that.
Well, there's some compatibility issues. People seem to be required to demonstrate a lot of loyalty to Trump, and then the people he picks often insist on having their own team, which sometimes clashes with Trump. This happens at the Pentagon and at State Department. There was a Deputy Secretary of State nominated by some and then pulled back, Elliott Abrams recently. But it's also, the Trump people have not strictly followed the guidance that was available to them from the good government groups who've been working over the past year. You know, almost a year ago, President Obama signed a new bipartisan law formalizing the presidential transition process and giving everybody, both the Democratic and Republican candidates, free rein to plan on a transition right after the conventions, beginning on August 1st. And so none of this habit of criticizing the other side for being presumptuous and saying, oh, you're already measuring the drapes of the Oval Office. Everybody can agree that both sides were supposed to assemble a tentative team as if they were going to win. And according to the schedule put out by, say, the Partnership for Public Service, they should have had 5 or 10 people considered for each cabinet post, and some lower posts have done some FBI background checks in November, December, and January. And it seems like they haven't done enough of that. I mean, I've been on websites, for example, I was on the U.S. Trade Representative's website. There were the top 9 positions are vacant, including the trade rep himself, who's been nominated but hasn't been confirmed. Just this morning, John Kelly, who's the Homeland Security Secretary, put out new guidance on this immigration restrictions, and he had CCs to the top 6 people in the department, all with the word acting in front of their names.
So those are holdovers, essentially.
Yeah. So then you have the Washington Post and the partnership together keep a appointee tracking little tool. And they, all in all, the president is going to appoint about 4,100 people over the next year.
Right.
About 1,100 of whom require Senate confirmation, which will always drags out for months. That's to be expected. But they've really only named about 31 out of the 700.
Yikes.
And that is really, you could say, behind schedule. And a lot of the people who are more concerned are the ones who are the career people in the agencies who are getting antsy for having a second and third in command who give them the political guidance that they can then use to keep the agency running as the full-time career civil servants are assigned to do.
So the top line people are all, Trump's named them for the most part, and they get through, and the Senate has confirmed.
Yeah, and that's where he's doing
so
well.
far.
Because he has a cooperative Republican-controlled Senate, even though the Democrats have pulled 2 all-night efforts to delay,
Right.
they haven't succeeded in voting down any of them. They eventually, the Labor nominee, Andrew Posner from the fast food industry, withdrew. Right. But he was quickly replaced by Acosta, and he seems like he may get through pretty quickly. And it's, those are the high visibility jobs, and that's what Trump, in my judgment, likes to do. Mm-hmm. Up in Trump Tower, having these people parade through the lobby and get on camera, and it's sort of like one of his reality TV shows or The Bachelor, all the suspense of who it might be. And of course, naming a deputy or an undersecretary who has actual experience in the subject area is not as glamorous as any of that.
Right, it's not going to cause the kind of headlines of, somebody who actually does the nuts and bolts of the job. Yeah. What has the partnership said about this?
Well, they are gentle because they don't want to be too critical, but they do stress the need to get experienced people and bipartisan people with subject area expertise in place a little bit sooner. And it's interesting the way the Trump people measure their success. In late January, Mike Pence put out a summary of how the transition had gone, and I reported some of those numbers. And they had 21 of 21 cabinet appointments made before inauguration, 87 applications for resumes, 370 interviews for high-impact positions, 321 landing team members. These are Trump representatives who go over to the 39 agencies to start gathering material and establishing relationships. They created more than 1,200 pages of policy papers. They had listening sessions with 1,200 organizations. They received 25,000 pieces of mail and responded to 7,000. And they returned 20% of their transition budget of $1.2 million back to the Treasury, which is fine.
That's great.
But none of that addresses the issue of getting the management of the agencies up and running and their policies clarified. And I think you saw some of that, the weaknesses in that approach when they rolled out the first version of the travel restrictions 2 weeks ago, because the Homeland Security and Defense Departments were not consulted, and the Justice Department wasn't ready to rule on whether the language was legally solid, and so they've had to redo it.
So to pivot it to today's news, the Homeland Security memo talks about a lot of things that will change or methods that will be used, including hiring thousands of border security. Right. Not forgetting on the timing and all that kind of stuff. How difficult will that be with fewer people in place to do so?
Well, again, they're going to have to rely on the career employees who know how much it costs to hire on a per person full-time equivalent basis. If you want 5,000 more ICE employees and 10,000 total in the whole immigration operation, Sean Spicer in today's press briefing just mentioned that they think they can reallocate some monies, but they probably will need a congressional special appropriation, and they will rely on the career experts to come up with the proposed amount for that. And then they consider this kind of an emergency. So they're not going to wait for the normal budget process to go through.
But as far as the not having those, will that be a hurdle? Not having the top level Homeland Security people in place?
I would think so. I mean, General Kelly is going to want to have a team he's comfortable with, but he also has a military background, and he hasn't done a lot of this immigration law himself.
So what is the timeline for the, what was it, would you say it was 3,000?
5,000 ICE employees.
No,
yeah.
for positions that they haven't filled.
Oh, well, okay. There's 1,100 that require Senate confirmation. They've 700 are considered essential by the Partnership for Public Service, and they still have 500 and some odd to pick.
Okay. How long do you think that's going to take then to get the government fully up and running?
Well, the confirmation processes for the sub-cabinet positions will go on into June and to August. That's normal. This happened with other administrations as well. Once they get their full cabinet up, they'll consider that to be sort of the trophy, and then the less glamorous work, I would think of it in March and April, was when they'll that number you can expect to rise from 30 up into 300 or 400, I would guess, pretty quickly.
Okay, well, great.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for us.
All right.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Happy to be here.